Class warfare the only resort to right-wing doom? It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of el Internet, created by whom? We the people, and formerly known as the ARPANET when it was a part of the Department of Defense. Anyway, folks, we are going to have a great program for you. We're going to take back this internet from the billionaires. We are going to take back the country. And well, I tell you, before I get busy saying how we're going to start the program, I'm going to throw it to the geniuses in el estudio, Senor Howard Reynolds, Jack Van Bever, and missing in action is the one and only and the beautiful Mayana. Mayana, we expect to hear from you soon in the studio. Anyway, que pasó el señor? Who's there, Jack? Okay, great. No, I'm not going to call it things, okay? But you know what? I lost my trend for a minute. I'm calling so many names. I'm like, wait a minute. Who's coming on first? Oh, it is Howard Reynolds. What's up, buddy?
Yes. Tin cans and string. Well, they're holding up this morning. Despite the dense fog outside, it was pretty socked in on the northwest side, and Jack says it was pretty socked in to the south. So I'm glad you made it. It is Friday morning at the radio, the 12th of December, a couple of minutes after 6 a.m., and we are ready for a great show. Jack, yes. What you got, man?
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Buenos días, hermano. ¿Cómo estás?
I'm good. All right, today's program examines how lived experience, unchecked power, and quiet technocratic decisions converge to shape people's lives profoundly. The show begins in Texas District 8, where Laura Jones' family health care journey exposes the real cost of rural neglect and informs a people-first agenda rooted in dignity, access, and accountability. It then widens the lens to the global stage, where the Trump administration's seizure of Venezuelan oil using U.S. military force crosses a dangerous line into state-sanctioned piracy, undermining international norms and inviting future retaliation. The discussion closes with a warning at home. CMS pushes to implement WISeR's, threatens to import opaque denial algorithms into traditional Medicare, sidelining providers and leaving seniors vulnerable to automated decisions about their care without transparency or consent. Pretty darn wicked, don't you think?
Pretty slimy.
Yes, it's gonna be. It's wicked, wicked. It's sad.
Internationally, are we allowed to sanction other people's stuff and tell them that they can't trade with other countries? I believe the shipment was going to Iran.
Yeah.
And suddenly, well, that is sanctioned oil, and you can't. We're just going to seize it and take it away from you. Can we legally do that?
Well, we
seriously?
can legally. When you have the biggest army, the biggest military in the world, you can do whatever the hell you want to do, and that's what's been going on. We create whatever laws we want to create. We break whatever treaties we want to break, and then we want to wonder why people do the way they do. Let me just say, as a naturalized American citizen who loves this country, let me say this: the rest of the world loves the American people. What our government does many a times is what puts a lot of hurting on us. We are copied around the world for our ingenuity. We're copied around the world for our style, etc. But my God, there is something wrong with the plutocrats who run the government, who control us all.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, it's called corporate power, and it's called fascism.
Yes,
That's exactly what it's called.
Yes, it's what it's called. So, anything else, guys, before I get started?
No, we are sitting here in eager anticipation of your show.
A really
Thank you,
big
my.
show.
I,
A really big show.
I love my brothers. I love my brothers. Anyway, check this out, guys. Look, remember I told you guys on Saturday I went to I gave a talk at it was a community meeting, a fundraiser, etc., for a young woman running for District 8 to be the congressperson in District 8. And by the way, let me point this out. We are a 501c3. We are also, when we put on politicians on this program, the opposing politicians, they have the right to be here as well. And I would love to have her opponent on the Republican side on this program as well, because there's a lot to talk about. But let me just tell you before I have her interview taped, but before I get started, um, there is something about this woman that I found special with the life that she had gone through, and one connection that I found was her husband had a stroke, and it put a material change in her life. And you got, for all of you that listen to me, know that I went through Paramo with my daughter who had two strokes at a very young age. And I know what that does to a family. I know the economic impact it has on a family. I know the mental impact it has on a family. And the thing about it is, there are millions of Americans that are going through these issues, whether they be healthcare, economic, many issues. But too often, the people that we have out there representing us, they don't have a clue of what it is to be working class, middle class, poor. They're out there. If you take a look at what's going on in Congress right now, they can't pass a law to protect 22 million American people that are going to be left in the cold with either extraordinarily high priced insurance or insurance they simply cannot afford. And above and beyond that, with because those people are going to be gone, with the insurance rate that's going to go up for virtually everybody, they have no lived experience about what it is like to be most of you who are listening to our program right now. So when I find or I'm aware of or become friendly with or whatever people that are out there making a difference, like some folks who have run, whether as progressives or moderates or whatever, but that and even Republican that understand people, understand what folks are really going through. It is our responsibility as one that is supposed to enlighten the public to give these people a hearing that many a times the mainstream media doesn't give the opportunity for you to get that from those folks. And that's what I intend to do here today. Lady Historian says, Estoy bien también, Senor Willis. And she actually used the N. That's the N with the little symbol on top. Lady Historian, I'm touched. I'm touched, Lady Historian. Femk, welcome aboard. Erlene Hunter, welcome aboard. Meg Easelin, welcome aboard. Kat Betsy, Glenn Ryan, see you on Sunday, Glenn. Larry, Bobby K, welcome aboard. And we, of course, have Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, as well as Harry Denson, Missouri City, Texas. Udi Deemer from Deer Park. You see, I remembered on my own. Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard. Lynette, welcome. Anyway, others that come in, I'll talk to you on the other side of the interview. But right now, let's listen to this person, this woman that, well, it's in the interview. So let's go ahead and play that now, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today, we're honored to have Laura Jones. Laura Jones is the Democratic candidate running in Texas District 8, a district that some may not realize it. But after I visited a whole lot about that district, it is a district she definitely can win. Don't let the numbers fool you. How you doing, Laura?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast.
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I want to say that I attended one of your community events over the weekend, and I can't tell you how impressed I was, both with what you had to say and the audience that was there to support you. I think with that kind of a back end, you are off to a flying start.
Well, awesome.
Now, let me ask you, first of all, tell us a little bit about who you are and why are you running for this district?
Well, I am a native Texan. My husband and I have 6 children who are now all adults. I am a real estate broker, a business owner, a farmer, and I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. And my husband and I, as our kids got older and moved out, we thought we wanted a slower pace of life. So we moved to a small, rural, very red county, San Jacinto County near Lake Livingston. And moving there really opened my eyes. I've always voted Democrat, but I was not a political activist. I had never attended a Democratic Party or club meeting before moving there. And moving there and really seeing how vast lack of resources can be to people in smaller counties, it shocked me. I mean, I was shocked and appalled for the first year we lived there, from public education to lack of access to healthcare. Of course, there's no public transportation, no jobs. And I just thought, who's representing people that live like this? Because there's more counties that look like San Jacinto County, where I live, across Texas than there are the bigger metropolitan areas. I never really considered what life was like outside of Houston until I moved outside of Houston. And so that's kind of what put me on this political journey. And my hair's caught on fire, and it's been on fire ever since.
What's interesting is you just said that coming from a resource-rich county, a resource-rich district, it was a shock to you when you moved into this particular area, District 8. Now, do you think the people that are, what should I call the natives of District 8, really understand that there's a lot that we could say it's due them that they don't receive, and that their representative, even as they vote for them consistently, have been lacking for them?
No, I spent a year as the county chair for San Jacinto County and traveled all over East Texas, trying to work with others and figure out how to get more people to vote, get more people educated about voting. And I talked to a lot of people, Republicans, Democrats, people who don't vote, younger people, older people. And the overall sentiment was nothing ever changes. It doesn't matter. You know, I vote, but it doesn't matter because nothing ever changes. People are disheartened and they're discouraged. And it was sad. It was very sad to me to come from Houston, Texas, where, you know, everybody's thriving, and not everybody's thriving, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's a very different way of living to moving to a much slower paced environment. It was definitely a good thing. In Houston, you know, there's always the pressure to drive a bigger car, to move into a bigger house, to make more money, make more money, make more money. And then you move to a small rural county and, you know, you got one lane going each way. Mm-hmm. There's one stoplight in my town, and there's no pressure there to do better, to dress nice, to have nice cars. And it was really a relief to be somewhere where you were just pretty much accepted, unless you talk about politics, and you were a Democrat, but to be accepted for where you were, because so many people they were worse off, you know, and it really made you appreciate what you had and where you were.
It's interesting because you said it was so nice, or you could do all of these things as long as you didn't say you're a Democrat or you didn't talk political. I told a story that you heard about what people actually think of a Democrat, or what somebody think of somebody that calls themselves whatever, that until they actually meet them, know them, understand who they are, and realize that the caricature that's made of them isn't the case, that is something that once superseded, changed minds and also changed votes. Is that what you find yourself being able to do? Do you have the throughput throughout the county to move around and present yourself to people no matter what?
Yes, because I am unapologetic about being a Democrat. I am not arguing with people in the grocery store. But one of the things that I realized needed to happen when I stepped into the county chair role was we needed branding. We had no office. We had nothing, you know, just this bad perception that propaganda that was coming out against Democrats. And I volunteered at food pantries. I went to local churches. You know, I did my best to try to build community. And the people that knew me liked me. They liked me a lot. They knew I was a Democrat. So I had T-shirts made that said, proud to be a rural Texas Democrat. And that was one of the small fundraising things that we did for the county party when I traveled around East Texas, was to, you know, sell these shirts for $5 or $10 because I was proud and I would wear my shirt everywhere. No one ever called me names or treated me badly, but I am unapologetically a rural Texas Democrat. That's where I live. But people are not, this is my 4th election cycle. Mm-hmm. So I've spent a lot of time, you know, of course, talking to Republicans in my area and Democrats as well. There are Democrats that exist in rural areas. And over again, the Republicans would say, we agree with everything you're saying. We love you. You're awesome. You remind me of my daughter, my granddaughter. We just wish you were a Republican. Will you switch parties? Absolutely not. Over and over and over again. So it was like, we like you. We want to vote for you, but we only vote for the red team. Sorry, we're not going to vote for you. And, quite a few of them may have voted for me, but it was a secret because it's very much like being in high school or in middle school. Even if someone doesn't agree with the Republican Party's platform, they got to keep that red shirt on, because if they don't, they can't sit next to their friends at church. They're not going to be invited to go have coffee with their friends because they're going to be treated a certain way. So it would be great if we could all just kind of grow up and vote our conscience. But, we're not there yet. So I am empathetic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's killing us.
I think in listening to you and listening to your narrative and reading about you, I honestly think that you have what it takes to take a few sneers, go into those churches and talk on issues. And especially now, because we are in a position right now that this particular administration is hurting everybody, including their own, from healthcare to farming, what tariffs are doing to farming. And I went ahead and did a little bit of research in your district and realized there are cattle ranchers, there are corn growers, there are all of these people that are a part of your district that tariffs are affecting, that the farmers are actually, even as they don't know it as Obamacare, they are on the Affordable Care Act. So these are things that are material going to affect them. And I think the narrative is there to give them that I'm not asking you to become a Democrat. I'm asking you to vote your interests, and nobody has to know who you vote for. I mean, if there's an ingenious way to put that out there, it almost seems like it's a winning ticket for you. You're in a plus from the last thing that I read, a plus 16 district. We have a switch in Miami yesterday of plus 25.
That's awesome.
That tells you the range that we are looking at. In Virginia, I think it was a plus 13 reversal. I mean, I believe more so, as I specified on my program today, is that we need people who believe that we can win, who actually present a winning message to even those on the other side, the Republicans, etc. And I think they'll go for you. I actually believe that not as a hope, but as something that you can earn. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And I am an activist for rural issues, for women's issues. But the district is, I think it's 56% Harris County since the recent redistricting has been upheld. So Northwest Harris County, Cypress, part of Katy is a huge part of the district. So rural issues are important, but being a big city girl, that's where I was born and raised and lived for 45 years. So, I mean, I am qualified in that aspect that I know what it's like to live in a bustling metropolitan area. I owned a business there. My kids went to public schools in Cy-Fair School District. And then I moved to a rural county. So, I mean, I have both sides of that experience that I can speak to when it comes to everyone's interests.
With what ICE is doing that don't just affect Latinos, it affects everybody, because as we know, a lot of businesses out there in Montgomery County, in the areas that you're going to be representative, use a lot of the labor that comes from this particular, the immigrant community. And it is materially affecting them that many of these people are scared to come out and work. Your district is approximately between 32 and 33% Hispanic. It is about 12% Black, 45% white, 6% Hispanic. I look at that not from specifically from a racial standpoint, but from a how will they vote and why will they vote standpoint. And I look at those numbers and I don't see a plus 16 district. I see a district that likely doesn't vote. If I look at all these numbers that I'm looking at right now, there is no reason this district is a plus 16 district if the right person runs.
Yeah. And that's our problem in Texas, right? Texas is not a red state. It's a non-voting state. If people would turn out to vote, things could change overnight. But there are many reasons why people don't vote.
I think it is up to you to change it. And listening to you, now that this is your fourth round and what's going on here, I do believe, and this isn't wishful thinking, I think this is something that you can do. What else are your plans? I know your son is in the military, so nobody can question your honor for country. What else can you tell me?
Wow. I've been very fortunate to have walked in the shoes of a lot of average Americans. I went to culinary school. I did take college courses for about 2 years before I went to culinary school. I'm married to an African American gentleman, so I'm very empathetic and understanding to a lot of the issues that the African American community faces. And my children are biracial. And as a mother, for years I've been terrified about the police profiling my sons and possibly ending their lives. I mean, you just never know. So I mean, there's so many aspects of my life. I've worked in the food service industry. I've worked in the retail industry. I'm currently working as a full-time housekeeper. I owned a cleaning business living in Houston and employed women that were recovering addicts. And I successfully grew the business and was able to sell it. And we moved to the country where I am a farmer. So I have chickens and ducks and bees and goats and dogs. So there's so many overlaps with my life and the average American. I can empathize. I've walked in the shoes of a lot of different people. And I believe that's one thing that's missing right now with our elected officials at the federal level and even at the state level. You keep electing wealthy white men over and over again, you're going to get what you get. We need to, and one of the reasons that I'm running and continue to run is because we need to normalize regular, average, everyday Americans running to represent our people. Because who better than to make great legislation for people like me and then to be a person like me? So, some people may look and go, oh, she's not qualified. She's not a lawyer. She didn't spend time, working for Senator so-and-so in college. Where did that get us? Where did that get us? We've done what we thought would work, and it's not working. It seems like most of the majority of the elected officials right now, they're on the take. They're being purchased by billionaires. I am not for sale. I am going to stand on my integrity and my ethics, and I'm going to fight for the American people, for people in my family, for my neighbors. So many of the Republicans are people that vote Republican. They don't even know we're fighting for them right now, but we're fighting for them too, because bad legislation doesn't just affect Democrats. It affects everybody. So I am who I am. This is my fourth cycle. It's not about me. It's not about it is about winning, but that's not the only reason that I'm running. So, I mean, it's been an awesome experience, and I've made a lot of friends across the district, and I've done it what I believe is the sustainable way. I've worked to build relationships in the counties across the district with community leaders, with people doing the work in faith communities, with the food pantries, because I believe those people are just as much as a part of what we're doing as our Democratic Party leadership. So it's been a great experience, and I'm having a great time.
Now, Laura, one of the things that really took me aback for a while is when you told me about your husband having a stroke, you having to go back to work, 2 hours into town, 3 hours back home for working 5 hours commuting plus the standard work that you do. Your work ethic is impeccable. Something that you know about, something that is you have more in common with your district than the current representative of your district has. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how your husband's stroke has changed your life and how that is congruous to so many people in your district and throughout the country?
Yes, well, unfortunately, my husband at 49, he woke up one Saturday morning and he had a stroke. He's healthy. We eat well, we take care of our bodies, and it's just something very unfortunate that happened, totally unexpected. Wow, what a life-changing experience, and not in a good way. He would drive back and forth to Houston 4 days a week. He worked full time. So obviously it was a pretty severe stroke. So he's not able to work even to this day. It's been a year and 4 months at this point since he's had the stroke, and he's recovering, but it's very, very slow recovery. I worked from home. I'm a real estate broker. I have a small business with my farm. But that was just not enough money to pay the bills. I mean, applying for disability, it's a year-long waiting process. So we're still waiting. We're still waiting. We haven't heard anything. So there is no income coming in to help with my husband's stroke. So I had to find a job. It took me 8 months to find a job, even with management experience and owning my own business for 18 years. It took me 8 months to find a job that paid enough for me to be able to pay our mortgage and our utilities. Working for $10 an hour is not an option. Working for $15 an hour is just not an option. So fortunately, I found a very good paying job. It's a 5-hour commute, 5 days a week, round trip. People every day have unfortunate things happen to them, and they do what they have to do to survive. So fortunately, we're in a better situation than some people. but it's you just never know. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm very thankful and I'm very grateful that he didn't die, that he's not paralyzed. But at the same time, it was a complete life-changing experience. I didn't plan to go back to work full time at 49 years old, but you do what you have to do to stay afloat. So we had health insurance through the ACA for years because his employer didn't provide health insurance, and I was a business owner. Fortunately, my new employer has agreed to pay for health insurance for us, but that is a very recent thing. And before, I didn't know how we were going to afford triple, quadruple premiums with going through the ACA again. I mean, that's just it. It was one of those situations that kept me up at night because my husband takes about 6 different prescription medications. He goes to the doctor, he goes to physical therapy, and we have to have health insurance. If we don't have health insurance, I don't know. So I'm very fortunate to have had my employer agree to provide health insurance for us that starts next year.
Laura, I wanted to tell this story because of everything that we've spoken about thus far. This is the most important story to every single Texan in your district that is going to vote this year. Because this year, we will determine if there will be health care, if extenuating circumstances occur, that you won't be left by the wayside. Right now, had you not gotten that job in January, you may have had to go without insurance because it would likely have been tripled.
Yes.
You found a way out, but you understand those concepts as a congressperson representing your district. You can actually say you have lived it. The person on the other side that will likely be running against you probably has no clue what it would take for a regular American citizen, a regular Texan, to go through what the average Texan has to go through. And I think it's incumbent on us all to somehow inform the electorate that this is the reality. These aren't platonic. This is the reality. So, first of all, thanks for telling us that story. I think it's the most important story that you've told thus far. In closing, why don't you tell me what you want the audience to know and how can people, get to you?
Well, I'm on all the social media platforms. I have a website, laura4tx.com. If you could find me on social media and share and like my posts, that would be really, really awesome. If you have a couple of dollars you can throw my way, I'm always going to take donations. That's not my primary focus, but, I need money to buy campaign signs and push cards so people can know who I am. So that's about it. Thank you so much.
What is your website again?
Laura, LAURA, the number 4, TX.com.
And I want folks who are watching this interview, not just listening to this interview, to realize where Laura is right now. Laura is in her car on her 3-hour commute back to Montgomery. 3 or close to Montgomery. I know it's in the area. On a 3-hour commute. Thank you, Laura, for having been on Politics Done Right. And you will make a great representative for District 8.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. But like I said, when I met this woman in person for the first time on Saturday, yeah, it was it was impressive. And then that story about her husband's stroke again touched a nerve because when you live through, and I know this speaks to a whole lot of people that are listening to the program right now. Stroke is one of the issues, but there are so many issues that when you're going through that process, the last thing you want is a non-functioning government or the ability to move on. I mean, having a competent government, a government who understands who you are, is so important. Anyway, folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. We'll take your calls. The second subject that we want to talk about today is also another very important subject. And, I think I can be fairly quick with that. But before I get started, I want to say that I saw Canada somewhere in the chat. Want to call out Christian McFurdy. How you doing from Canada? You know what, Miss McFurdy? If we could just have the Medicare for all that Canada has with an additional drug program, because I think the Canadian system, while nobody gets really bankrupt from healthcare, I think the drugs are something that needs to be mitigated within your program. But there are so many Medicare for all type healthcare programs around the world that America needs to mimic, instead of how we extort and people when they get sick in this country. A lot of you may not know you're being extorted because we're so used to it, but it is criminal. Betty, come on. How you doing, Betty? La preciosa Betty, come on in.
Morning. Hi, Alberto. I'm going to say this about our flag. I was so there when our Marines raised our flag for what they fought for and died for. And I was so there when the astronaut put the flag on the moon.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry. When I see Trump kissing the flag and using it as his backdrop, to me he's burning it. Our stars and stripes, he is a fraud. He is a fraud. He is putting us in harm's way, a chauvinist pig. He gets up in the morning looking for something, always looking for something. He is a runaway train. You're going to see Brian Sunday. He has a family. He knows what life is about. But always, he is it. But remember, he is a sidewinder, and his crocodile tears don't mean anything. Love y'all.
Love you, Betty. Thank you. Thank you, sis. Thank you, sis. Thank you, sis. Anyway, folks, look, the number again, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. Howard alluded to it. When did we become pirates? When we in the United States become pirates? You can change the law to do wrong. You can change the law to do wrong, or you can use the law to do wrong. Uh, I've spoken about Venezuela more than I need to, but I can tell you one thing. Venezuela is a good country. The people of the country are good people. Hugo Chavez, while we try to make it seem like this guy was the worst thing, the only thing that this guy was an anti-capitalist, because it had not served his country well. It served a few, just like we are waking up to right now. Right now, we are waking up every day to realize that we are a country in distress. That while there are many in the corporate sector that are doing fine, most people are not. Most people don't live in the rural areas where Laura Jones is running to be the representative there. People don't see the many people in rural areas are just used to not being used to no one caring, used to it being the dumping ground of the cities, used to nobody there making sure that their water is clean, that people do nefarious things without them knowing. There is so much that occurs in rural areas that it's not reported for, because the star reporters are not going to go into, they're not going to drive an hour and a half every day or a couple hours to the rural parts of this area. When we get back to Venezuela, nobody cares about Venezuela as long as we can continue to extract from Venezuela, as long as they don't do anything that will mess with the way the system works, you know? Well, by now, all of you have seen the pictures of the helicopter with the Coast Guard, with people rappelling down onto a big super tanker carrying Venezuela's oil. Who knows where? I think Howard said he thought it was Iran. Some say it was Cuba. I don't exactly know where the oil was going, but it was oil sold out of the ground from Venezuela. And Donald Trump says, I'm going to put an aircraft carrier, because we are big and bad. I'm going to put it in the Caribbean. And when that ship leaves the Orinoco or wherever it's leaving from, I'm going to take that dang boat. And that's what they did. And that's what they did. That's what they did. And many on the right sit down and yay, yay, yay. So we're killing people. We've killed over 80 something people in the middle of the ocean in extraterritorial waters. We've murdered them because there's no war. And even if there were war, it's still, in this case, a war crime. And we keep trying to escalate it a bit more. We take a super tanker of oil worth millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars for that, whatever that tanker, plus the actual value of the tanker. And we take it. And Donald Trump says we're going to seize it and we're going to take the oil. I mean, on what planet is that legal? On what planet is that legal? That is monies that is deserving of the Venezuelan peoples whose resources America has just said it's taken. And you wonder why people around the world would say they hate us? You have just taken food out of the mouth of Venezuelans. You've just taken healthcare out of the mouth of Venezuelans. You are trying to collapse the government. You care nothing about life. If you take a look at what we're doing with healthcare today, you care nothing about life. The party that loves to call themselves the party of life, we believe in the sanctity of life. Every action taken shows you believed in the sanctity of capital. The sanctity of capital. Lady historian says shadow fleets and sister ships that transfer oil cargoes from sanctioned countries while at sea has been occurring for years. Yeah. But in this case, think about it. Why aren't they going onto the Caspian Sea and taking all those super tankers leaving Russia to India to China on sanctioned Russian oil? By the way, I'm not for that either. Okay, I'm not for just stealing. I'm for you turn the darn ship around. If we have international action, you turn the ship around. And in the case of Russia, if you're gonna take that oil, you take it to give it to Ukraine for all the bombing and blowing up that they've done. But what America is doing is just taking the oil and claiming it's because they are a drug cartel, drug terrorists. Be for real. These people are doing nothing to America. America doesn't want done to them, to us. America loves their drugs. America loves their coke. America loves their fentanyl. You should be asking, why do we love our drugs? Why do we love our cocaine? Why do we love our fentanyl? Why do we love it? People are in pain. It is why they take alcohol. It's why they take all. Venezuela is doing nothing to us. Mexico is doing nothing to us. China is doing nothing to us. We are doing to ourselves. Whatever happened to personal responsibility? Isn't that what the right always talks about? Personal responsibility. Have the personal responsibility not to throw this stuff in your veins, not to throw this stuff into your brain. That's personal responsibility. Why blow up other people? The average Venezuelan has nothing to do with the drug trade. The average Mexican has nothing to do with the drug trade. The average Chinese has nothing to do with the drug trade. But in a capitalist world that we created, Milton Friedman, are you listening to me from your grave? In this society, we created the mechanism. We created the hurt in people that are trying to get these drugs. Let's be clear here. Christian McCarthy from Canada says the only good thing about Trump is the people are now waking up to see flaws of capitalism. Yeah, they are. They are. They are. And I'm so happy about it. All right, Ray is on the line. Come on in, brother Ray.
Yeah, Egberto, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, this whole scenario, this Charlie Foxtrot, and I'm using the radio
The
edit
radio
version of what
equivalent.
I really want to say.
Yes.
Yes. It really is reminiscent of what America's culture has become, and I don't know if you're familiar with this movie that they had. I feel like very I feel like very trivial in a cinematic sense today. So the movie in question I was thinking about was Team America: World Police. And when I think about Donald Trump, I think about that theme song in that movie, and it was, America, blank, yeah, you can fill in the blank. And it was all these cultural icons, Walmart and Target and hot dogs and, all the simplistic things that Americans, culturally look at as part of our pastimes, eating barbecue, sausage at a tailgate. I'm just saying all this to say that Donald Trump basically represents the caricature, which is the bastardization of the American government. Basically, a lot of the MAGA people that supported him, basically supported him because he humped that flag, and he basically gave them this whole warm, fuzzy feeling of America, F yeah, and that's the vibe they've been riding all this time, and it's sickening. I just hope
I
that finally they're seeing the light. But
I think
Florida
I
has
think
a Democratic governor,
yeah.
not a Democratic
Mayor, Miami,
Yeah,
mayor. Yeah. Let me tell you, Ray. I think
Miami.
America's waking up. I 3 weeks ago I wrote that blog at Thanksgiving. I am not thankful for the myth of the holiday, but I have reason to be thankful. And yes, it's a good thing to have a day to be thankful. I'm thankful that my daughter's recovering. I am thankful that the nation America is recovering because yes, you're right. The caricature that they make, the big, yeah, is finally going away slowly, albeit, but going away because people have to live their realities. And Ray, their realities has a lot to be desired. Hey Ray, I got to get some more calls in, but thank you for calling in, my brother. See you on the 3 o'clock show, brother. All right. Let's go to Patricio. Patrick, come on in, line number 2.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Let me just put the number again. 713-526-5738. Yesterday we had a caller that said, oh, I had to call a lot of different numbers. I'm like, I screwed up. I don't say the number enough. 713-526-5738. Come on in, brother.
Well, the connection is great again. That makes things a lot easier. Thank you to everybody that made that fix.
Howard Reynolds, you hear that?
Trying to be
Oh, I hear it, yeah.
so much better.
Okay. Talk to me,
I want to
Patrick.
be a little critical of you. I want to be a little bit critical of you because when you're talking about sanctioned tankers, that we should turn them around. We shouldn't be sanctioning anything. I don't think progressives should think that way because sanctions don't do what they are intended. They don't stop war machines and they don't stop governments. They just starve citizens. We put sanctions on Iraq and it didn't change Saddam Hussein's lifestyle at all. It didn't change how his government worked at all. It just starved his people. And several organizations have put together some studies, and they put a figure on the last decade that 5 million people have died because of U.S. sanctions.
Sanction, yeah.
And some of the ways that they die is that we deny medications.
Right.
And that's just cruel. So I wanted us all to think about that we shouldn't even be.
I agree. Look, I agree with you 100%, Patrick. 100%. And please don't ever think, don't say that. You don't have to preface being critical of me. That's what we're all about here. We have to throw all those ideas and exchanges and change minds. And that's what it takes, brother.
So I appreciate that opportunity. Everybody have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Hello.
I can hear you, Bruce.
Hello. Yeah, it's so great not to have an echo. Anybody that thinks that Venezuela is not about oil can remember America did not go into Rwanda and stop a massacre because they're not sitting on a giant pot of oil. We didn't go to Uganda when Idi Amin was abusing his own people. They weren't sitting on a giant pot of oil. I think, and I want your feedback on this, I think Trump may time the invasion for right at the midterms, so Republican candidates to be able to say, get behind Republicans and be patriotic. I just know he's unpredictable, but I think that may happen. And finally, when they get these Epstein files released completely, we may find some powerful people that use the word stroke as a verb. I'm done. Bye.
Thank you, brother Bruce. And something, I did think about whether he would leave the task force out there. That's a lot of money wasted if he waits all the way until close to the election to do an action. But I think I think he will be surprised if he thinks the reaction to invading Venezuela will be a positive one for Republicans. I don't think it will be, because remember, his people voted for him because he said we don't want to have forever wars and quite a few things like that. And with us having our own financial issues, not even able to pay for our people's health care, I think if he were to do that, first of all, if Democrats do right and frame the argument as emptying our coffers and doing the wrong thing from a moral standpoint, I think it actually works in reverse. But, that's my thought, and something we won't know unless it happens. But I think it would be crazy for them to do it. Let's go to John, line number 1. Folks, telephone number 713-526-5738. I want to leave a few minutes at the end to talk about WISeR, though that has to do with traditional Medicare. Let's go ahead. Come on in, John.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
We haven't spoken for a number of years, but I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Look, I'm on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you.
Not a problem.
Here is I know, and I actually appreciate your rationale when having a discussion. So here's my thing about healthcare right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obamacare was supposed to have fixed everything. Okay, the subsidies were put in place to be a temporary measure in the first place. I get tired of the dishonesty, and I really feel that's what it is, about how the Democrats couch this argument. Okay, they're not supposed to be there to begin with. They were supposed to have already gone away. And nothing Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, to be respectful, has done has reduced cost, right? None of the promises have come true, other than if you didn't have it, some of you didn't have it, and you couldn't afford it, the American taxpayer is now picking up the bill. We do not have a universal health care system. We're not Europe. We are not there. So I get tired of the dishonesty as I see it, because, again, Democrats put this stuff in place. They had, at the time they put Obamacare in place, they had the House, they had the Senate. They could have done whatever they wanted and done it right and fixed it, but they didn't. And here we are having the same exact argument again. Explain that to me, and explain the logic and rationale.
Stay on with me, because first of all, you're going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked what I'm going to tell you here. You're right. Okay? You're right. But not because you are right with your argument means you're right with the outcome. Now, let me correct a few things, however. I should say you're right with the sentiment. The part that you're wrong about is the following. Obamacare, and those of us who were working with this since 2009, we knew this was going to happen in the first place. And this was going to happen because of one specific issue. The public option was not placed in there. The public option was the only check to the private insurance companies. We did not want private insurance companies at all because by definition, all insurance is an entity that pays a bill. You agree with that, right? It's just an entity that pays a bill, correct?
I did. Yeah, but one quick question, just so you
Yes,
can
sir.
highlight. Yeah, again, you said you didn't want it in there, but it's Democrats that rammed this through the legislation.
Let me
Why
finish
wasn't
because
it wanted
I was
in
I
there?
was I was coming there. I was coming there. I was coming to you.
Thank you.
Look, Democrats, there are two kinds of Democrats. There are Democrats that, and let me take my host hat on for this explanation to be honest. There are two kinds of Democrats. There are progressive Democrats, and then there are neoliberal Democrats. And then there are neoliberal Republicans. They are all in one the same. The only difference between a neoliberal Republican and a neoliberal Democrat is a neoliberal Republican simply doesn't want to use taxpayer dollars to do anything. A neoliberal Democrat will use taxpayer dollars to create a certain level of social programs as long as the capitalist notion is maintained. Okay? And that's the reason why Obamacare has failed because capitalism cannot work in healthcare. Capitalism can work for restaurants. Capitalism for work can work for building a car. It simply cannot work for restaurants because for healthcare because in healthcare, brother John, you don't have a choice when you break your leg. You're not going to go shopping around for the best price, etc. It doesn't work in healthcare. The only thing that works in healthcare is what we see work all around the world, and that is universal healthcare, where there's only one pool. And that's what the public option was going to do to Obamacare. The public option was going to eventually put the private sector out of business because they couldn't keep up with the honesty of of a public option that simply pays a bill as opposed to having to make a profit for the database owner, the make a profit for advertising, make a profit for the all the monies that go into the pocket of these rich healthcare companies' coffers. So yes, you are right with everything that you said, but you're right for the wrong reason. Okay, that the Democrats made the addition during the pandemic, and now it expired. Is it right for you to simply let people lose their insurance as the prices keep going up? Because the reason that extension was needed is the constant increase in the price of healthcare. And the constant increase in the price of healthcare is what, again, not inflation, but greed by a capitalist market who must make 7 or 8 or 9 or 10% per year. So what I'm saying is, we can get together, John, and we can decide to be honest about healthcare. And you, as a Republican, and all the Democrats that are listening to you said, we are going to work on this thing that affects us all together and create Medicare for all. Are you ready to do that? I'm talking to you, John.
Yeah, but the problem is, the problem is, and and I know this. Unfortunately, government work here in the United States is just job program. I continued fight between the parties to stay on top, keep their cheesy jobs that don't really accomplish much in the grand scheme of things, and nothing is ever going to get solved in America.
No, but John, let me interrupt you here. I don't have a lot of time, but let me interrupt you here. John, I repeat, government is we the people. We can actually stop fighting. I don't fight with people. I have fun with folks, whether Republican or Democrat. But we can stop this silly fight and elect the people who are willing to do that. I can name the woman that I interviewed, Laura Jones. Laura Jones is ready to work with everybody and create She's lived it. Create programs that work for us all. Are you ready to do that? To forget about I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. Are you ready to do that? I can't stay with you long, but I just want to know: would you be ready to do that?
I'm ready to sit down and talk about a lot of common
There you go.
solutions.
I just love to hear that.
I'm a capitalist, so I'm a business guy.
I can prove to you that you don't have to give up your statement of being a capitalist to do right, but we'd have to sit down and talk about it, right? I believe in capitalism for healthcare. I mean, not for having a restaurant. People don't have to go to a restaurant. I just don't believe in capitalism for things that people must have. But we can talk about that another day. All right, brother?
Yep, you got it. Talk to you later. Bye.
Take care now. All right, Donald, I'm out of time, but give me your 30 seconds and then the other one.
Okay, how are they going to get their money if they don't know what companies to invest in their stock options and where they get their campaign contributions and everything else, Umberto? If you do it the right way, how are they going to get paid?
Hey, let me tell you, that is a $100,000 question, and we'll talk about that another day. But I just needed to get to hear your voice, brother. Thank you for calling.
All right, my man. Later, yes, sir. Bye.
Take care. All right, next caller. We don't have to put the name; just throw them on, and then real quick. Okay. Oops, we lost them. All right. Let me just say this, folks. Remember what I've said about Medicare, and I'm gonna be real quick here. Medicare, you did not have to have this call. You didn't have to be pre-cleared when something happened. When a doctor said you needed a particular procedure, medicine, or whatever. Donald Trump is trying to break traditional Medicare by having a test right now called WISeR, so that now in Texas and 5 other states, they allow some organizations to require pre-clearance. I didn't have enough time to talk about it. Please, it's all at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Studio. Studio, are you guys there?
Okay, yeah, we were discussing the phone here. We are here, and when I was reading just a little bit here about piracy,
Yes.
the traditional sea piracy, which is we have just seen, unauthorized acts of violence or detention of any deprecation committed for private ends by the crew or private ship against another ship on the high seas. We have just seen this.
Yes.
So Donald Trump has violated the law. It's code, let's see, 18 U.S. Code Chapter 81 is the one that he violated by being a pirate and seizing that particular ship. So he has broken the law yet again. Jack,
Thank you, my brother.
Jack says no.
All right, folks.
Take it
Look,
home, Roberto.
thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Anyway, folks, remember the rest of the program is at politicsandright.com/newsletter. Politicsandright.com/newsletter. You can talk to me directly, email me directly, kpft@politicsandright.com, kpft@politicsandright.com. Love you all, absolutely all of you. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!